Yesterday, lawmakers in Nebraska overrode a veto from its governor, and they became the first conservative state in 40 years to repeal the death penalty. The vote, 30-19, saw 17 Republicans cross over. It was a landmark decision, and I'm saying this is huge and has national ramifications. You see, Americans, they seem more willing to be more like Europe than ever before. Now, it's a point underscored by a recent Gallup poll that shows surging moral acceptance for things like gay marriage, up 23 points since 2001. Having a baby outside of marriage, up 16 points since 2001. Doctor-assisted suicides up 7%. Over 56% of people say that is morally accepted now. What's gone down? The death penalty is down 3 points, and medical testing on animals also down. So here's the thing. If we're willing to become more like Europe socially, what does it mean for us economically? Let's ask the panel. All right, and we've got a great panel for you on this one. First, joining us now from Nashville. You guys have been saying, where's Scotty? Well, there she is, Scotty Nell Hughes, TPNN.com news director. And we've got him in-house this time, Eric Guster. He's managing attorney at Guster Law Firm. Erin Ehrlich is our second appearance with us, and making her debut, Mercedes Coleman, Fox News legal analyst. I've been trying to get you on the show for a long time.
I'm so thrilled to be here. My maiden voyage.
Hey, by the way, Steve Cortez is still with us, too. All right, guys, I want to tell you right now, for me, this is old news. I talked to my 18-year-old son. I've always talked to him about things that I saw and lived through when I was growing up and what he saw and he's lived through growing up, and a lot has changed. Now, I am worried, though, about some elements, including sort of the drifting away from God, and more importantly, economically, adopting these European-style economic rules and things like that. Scotty, I mean, this is obviously going to be a big political topic as well. Where does this take us?
Well, the social issues, I believe, Charles, will be the Achilles heel of the GOP in the 2016 elections. And I can tell you right now, every campaign is going, okay, which group means more to me? Which group do I actually have a chance of being able to recruit new voters? And which ones will I never have at? Now, that's in the primary. The difference, though, is in the general, where I believe the Democrats are going to do everything they can to focus on these social issues, on these new accepting roles, and point out that the traditional GOP has usually been against these. And the GOP in reverse is going to try to push for the economy, because that's something that the Democrats can't brag about.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But Mercedes, listen, I think, you live in New York. Maybe some of this stuff you feel like it's maybe a no-brainer. We're kind of used to this. But sure, this is sweeping the nation. When we're talking about Nebraska, we're talking about the majority of the Republicans crossing over, going against a popular Republican governor. I mean, that signals a major change in attitudes in this country.
Oh, for sure. And I think part of it is reality TV, frankly, because there's so much out there.
Really?
I really do believe
so
there's
something like the Bruce Jenner transformation kind of stuff?
And I mean, the reality TV has really just saturates the population with so much information you just generally didn't really have at their fingertips, where there's individuals living together, having children outside of the marriage, and all of those things that are being heralded and really shown on reality TV. That's becoming socially acceptable.
Eric, Scotty talked about the complications for the Republicans on this. You see this whole thing as a slam dunk for Democrats?
I don't necessarily think it's a slam dunk, especially with the death penalty debate, because death penalty debate is all about getting the right person. And there have been 153 exonerations since the 70s, meaning that they had 153 wrong convictions of people on death row.
But
so people trying to say,
okay, so 45 years. You're saying an average of 10 people a year out of how many convictions? Though? I mean, if you're a numbers guy, here's my question. I'm a death penalty advocate, okay? I think there's certain crimes that we shouldn't feed these people $45,000 a year for the next 30 years. But having said that, I also think it's a deterrent as well. You don't think that works anymore?
I don't think it's a deterrent. One wrong death penalty, you can't bring that person back. You can't bring it back, and we've had so many people who have been executed, and it's been wrong. And they're not like Jesus and going to rise on the third day. You can't bring this person back. So we have to abolish the death penalty, and it needs to be done overall throughout the United States.
What do you think, Erin?
I tend to agree. I think that, to the extent that this is a social issue, the death penalty is a relic of the past. It's a practice with historical roots, which, like many others, have in a modern society, we've determined they no longer make sense. They are no longer viable. For that reason, the fact that there are too many people that are wrongfully convicted, but also for the fact that we've now discovered that not only is it not actually a
So
deterrent,
someone like the Boston bomber, you guys are cool with feeding this guy
well,
for the next
you know, I
50
think
years.
there's always
And by
gonna
the
be
way,
cases
it's
that-
$88,000 a year when you have to sequester someone like the Boston
Right.
bomber
So
who can't be in,
$88,000 a year.
who can't be
You
in
guys
general
are cool with us.
population.
You're
No,
an
because
idiot.
I
You're going to
think
spend
they're very
$10 million on appeals. So either you give him life without, stick him in a hole for the rest of his life, and now that case is the bad case.
Yeah,
All of
yeah.
us agree.
I mean, we
Now
know that happened.
Now that
There
is
are
a bad
some
case.
cases that death penalty should be
yeah.
opposed.
All right, let me ask, I want to ask
Charles,
Steve, because Steve, I want to bring you in on the economic side of this, because I am afraid that this will lead us to sort of saying, hey, you know what? If this is utopia for whatever reason, maybe we go vacations to Greece and we don't understand that the country is flat broke, but the beaches are nice. What's next economically if we go down this path?
Right. No, Charles, and listen, I think you make a great point because we can see the European blueprint, right, both economically and morally, and it is the road to ruin on both fronts, by the way. And I think there is no bifurcation here because, for instance, a family breakdown, we cannot possibly afford to pay for a family breakdown because of what that leads to, right, in our schools, in our prisons, in our social welfare status. So to me, the two are one. It's a seamless garment. It is not an either-or binary situation. Both matter, and I think the Republicans rightly will focus on both. Ronald Reagan did, George W. Bush did, both won 2 terms, and I think whoever the nominee is will this time.
We've got 30 seconds, Scotty. Mercedes brought up reality TV. I think it's these superstar movie actors having kids out of wedlock, but we study the economy. Having a child out of wedlock, having 2 or 3 out of wedlock is doom. It's economic doom. And to see it being accepted to this degree, I think is going to backfire mightily on the poorest Americans.
And especially in the millennial generation who are more apt to actually agree with it. But the big thing is 4 million people stayed home in 2012, did not go vote for Romney. They say that's one of the reasons why he lost. It's going to be a real challenge for the Republicans to not lose those 4 million when they sit there and talk these social issues. Some guys just might not be motivated to go to the polls.
If they, I don't know, though. If they could lose more than 4 million. They might lose 30 million permanently if they push back too hard against the overall trend of young people. All right, here's a big question.